Hello again and welcome to my game room. This is a video I've been meaning to make for quite some time because I wanted to talk about my game collection. I feel like physical games are more important than ever, especially with kind of everything that's going on, not only because of like preservation and the history of video games, which I think is extremely important, but because of ownership. Everything that I have behind me, I own, and eventually, it'll disintegrate into dust for sure. But that's just nature taking its course, and these companies can't come in and just kind of take them away. That'd be kind of scary. What if PlayStation one day is like, we have the PlayStation police, and they bust down your door, kick you in the face, and take your copy of Metal Gear Solid 2. The games I collect them because I'm interested in playing them, or they have like a particular sentimental value to me. I don't collect for value. It's more so my perceived value, which is exactly why I bought recently at a flea market Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses. Great game. 10 out of 10. Actually, none of the games I owned as a kid or a teenager are in my collection. All of these games that I own now, I started collecting about 10 years ago because unfortunately, and I'm sure this has happened to a lot of people, but unfortunately in my early 20s, I had a bit of a mental health crisis and I was almost homeless, so I ended up selling my entire collection just to pay rent and buy food and all that kind of stuff, which is, another reason why I think physical games are so important, because when you're in a bind, you can trade them in. I think a lot of people, too, who play games, they probably just buy them secondhand because gaming is increasingly becoming less affordable. It's more of like, kind of like a premium experience. You're like a new game here in Canada costs like $100, especially now with like variable pricing. Games are more expensive than ever. But all that aside, I didn't want to sit here and tell you a sob story or anything like that. I wanted to talk about my favorite games in my collection. Like I said, the collection behind me is quite small. I do own more games. All of my retro games are kind of in my closet, or I have like all my PlayStation 1 games in a case. They're kind of spread across my room. The first game I wanted to talk about, which is probably the rarest game I own, is Obscure on the PS2. Obscure is a classic survival horror game set in, I think it's a high school. Yeah, it's a high school. And basically, you are running around this high school as several different teenagers, 5 different teenagers, to basically figure out the mystery and to escape the horrors that are happening kind of around you. This game's actually co-op. It does have like tanky controls, and it's actually a really good game. I think one of the main selling points of this game, of course, is that I don't know if you could see it there, but it's featuring music by Sum 41, which is so funny. They advertise that right on the box, and I'm almost 100% sure, I'll have to look back, that the Sum 41 song they're talking about is just like in the opening cutscene. So it's not like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater where there's like music throughout the game. You're not walking around killing, I was going to say zombies, but I'm pretty sure they're like plant monsters, killing them while Fat Lip plays in the background. Cool thing about this game, it is one of the rarest games in my collection. I'm very much a budget hunter. I don't buy expensive games. And what happened was I bought this game, and I'm pretty sure it's complete. And it's complete in box, and it works because I've played it. Bought this game. I found it at a local place called Game Cycle. On the shelf, I was looking for some survival horror games. I was really on a survival horror kick. I had just got like an Xbox 360 at that time, and I was playing Alan Wake and Deadly Premonition, and I kind of wanted to go back and play some more survival horror games that I haven't heard of. And I'd never heard of this game, seen this game. I was really big into PS2 when I was a kid, so I was actually kind of surprised that I'd never seen this game. And I found it on the shelf. It was $20. So I picked it up, no brainer, a $20 survival horror game. Why not? And I think like a year or two after, it boomed in price because it is quite an obscure title. I actually didn't realize. I went through, I decided to catalog my games using price charting, and if you aren't a collector or if you are a collector and you don't know about this, but price charting is a really good way to kind of put value to your collection. Like I said, I don't collect for value, but it is kind of cool, especially as like I'm really into finances. So it's kind of cool to see kind of the trajectory, almost like you're looking at like a fun fact or like the history of a stock for video games. And this one has gone up quite significantly in price. I don't think I'll ever let it go, bar having another mental health crisis and needing some money, because I think it is a really cool piece of history, and I really do like kind of unheard, for lack of a better term, obscure games. So I thought that was really cool, and that just goes to show you, because game collectors, we're always talking about how we're looking for the best value. You don't often find it anymore because game collecting is kind of more mainstream now, so it's kind of hard to go to a flea market or go to a yard sale or a secondhand store and find things of value. So I was kind of happy to get that game. Like I said, I don't buy expensive games, so I mean, new games are expensive, but that's a whole different thing. Like new games, I'll buy because that's the price they are, and I have FOMO. I don't want to miss out, but was super happy to get that. On the topic of survival horror games, a game I picked up actually quite recently is Dementium, the Ward. And the reason I picked this up was I had a friend who lent this to me back when I had my DSi, and I was actually quite surprised. I didn't really look for survival horror games on the DS. I was mainly playing games like, you know, Pokemon and the Mario and Luigi series. Getting my hands on this, I was actually quite surprised. It's a first-person horror game, and it's actually quite good. The only caveat is it's a little bit confusing at the beginning, or maybe I'm just dumb, who knows. But it's actually quite good. It's first-person. They kind of advertise it as this kind of Doom-like experience. I will say I didn't get that kind of feeling. Yeah, on the front it says, "This is Doom meets Silent Hill, be afraid." But actually a very good game, and I was happy to pick this up. This game, it was a little bit more expensive. I know I just went on a rant saying I don't buy expensive games, but I actually had some store credit from some things I trade in. Oftentimes I will, once again, another reason why physical games are so important, but oftentimes I'll kind of go through my collection, and I might pare down. I do that quite a bit because I am kind of budget conscious, so I'll pare down if I want to get new games and stuff like that. So I saw this and I was like, I gotta have it. I never owned it, played it when I was in my teens, and I quite liked it. So next up, a game I had just mentioned when we were talking about obscure, and that is Deadly Premonition, specifically Deadly Premonition's Origins, the Switch version, which in my opinion is the best way to play it. I'll kind of get into that. Deadly Premonition is one of my favorite games of all time. You can go back. I have several YouTube videos across several different YouTube channels about Deadly Premonition. I've been doing this for quite some time, kind of sporadically.
But all I got was a mild headache. Look at this guy. Hello.
But Deadly Premonition is amazing. It's a bad game. Don't get me wrong. Like gameplay wise, it isn't a great game, but there's a lot of character and a lot of flavor and story that make this kind of a cult classic. Unfortunately, there was a sequel and it didn't play as well, but if you're a fan of things like Twin Peaks, you'll really enjoy Deadly Premonition. And it's not kind of a slog to get through. It's not a super long game. I think it's the game that I've kind of gone through the most back to front. But the Switch version is particularly good, and I say that for performance reasons. I also really like this edition because it comes with a couple of different collectibles. It comes with some metal pins. It's got a nice kind of book inside. It's really like a collector's piece, but the game itself runs pretty well. And the reason I say that is for example, if we look down here, we have, of course, Deadly Premonition Director's Cut on the PS3, which is 3D compatible. Oh my god, that's amazing. Does anybody own a Sony 3D TV? I really want one of those. This was the second version I picked up. I originally had it on the Xbox 360, as I kind of mentioned earlier, and that's where I originally played it, which it ran relatively well on the 360, but it did crash a lot. On the PS3, so depending on what PS3 you own, so if you have like a PS3, I think they're called Slims, like the smaller versions, not like the big Chech versions. This game does not run. Like, it barely is like 2 frames per second. It is awful, and it's the definitive version of the game. You could also get this version, I believe, on PC, but there's a lot of like kind of things you have to install to play on the PC. This is the best version. On the Switch, yes, there are crashes and there are some technical issues, but right now, in 2026, this is the best version to play simply because of the Switch 2. On the Switch 2, while you are driving, the frame rate is uncapped, and it is insane. Like, you go flying. I think I made a video kind of showcasing how it kind of plays in the car, but it is incredibly smooth. There's a lot less pop-in on the Switch 2 version, especially like playing handheld. It's like night and day. Fortunately, Deadly Premonition 2 plays a lot better on the Switch 2 as well, but that game is still... I can't get into it. It's kind of utterly different. The beginning starts as like this kind of like monologue between the main character, but definitely a great game. I highly recommend it. If you're interested in this game, I made a video about what kind of makes it so great. I definitely recommend checking that out, or if you don't want to play it, definitely checking out some other kind of content creators who talk about it. Next up, I want to talk about Barbie in the 12 Dancing Princess. No, I'm just kidding. Funny story. I was at a flea market. I love digging. I feel like a lot of retro game collectors do as well. But I love digging through garbage to find kind of gems. And I found this for $5. I'm not particularly interested in it. So I might trade it in to get it something I am interested in. But I found it for $5 and it's worth like 40. So I was like, no brainer, pick it up. And the reason I picked it up is I recently saw a video talking about like rare games, and there was a Barbie game on there. So I saw this and I'm like, this has got to be rare. And it was like mixed in with a bunch of DVDs, so I had to have it. Anyways, next up we have one of my favorite games on the GameCube, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. And I am not too ashamed to say that I love this game simply because I'm obsessed with the Metal Gear series. I kind of always have been. Maybe I'll show like all of my Metal Gear collectibles. But when I was younger, when I was a kid, I could not for the life of me beat Metal Gear Solid on the PS1. I've since gone back and beaten it. But my little tiny shrimpy brain just couldn't handle it. Like the kind of isometric views sometimes when you're shooting and stuff, especially towards the end, was way too difficult for me. So when I saw this game, which I actually initially did not know what this was, when I saw this game at Toys R Us for $9 in like a discount bin, brand new, I picked it up. Not this copy. I ended up selling that copy, of course. These are quite rare nowadays, unfortunately, so they are quite expensive. But I actually won this in a bid on eBay. It doesn't have the manual. No manual. What a loser. So if you don't know what this is, it's basically... It's gone. If you don't know what this is, it's basically a remake of the original Metal Gear Solid in the Metal Gear Solid 2 engine. They do kind of take some liberties with the story. There are kind of like a lot of over-the-top moments in Twin Snakes, but honestly, in my personal opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, I think this is kind of like the definitive way to play the first Metal Gear Solid, especially in relation to like how the other Metal Gear Solid games play, at least 2 and 3 on the PlayStation 2. I just love this game. It is a 2-discer. Obviously, like the GameCube, the disc size is very small, both in memory size and in shape. But I think these discs are in pretty good condition. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's clean. That's clean. No disc degradation yet. So that makes me very happy, but was very happy to pick this up. Actually, that's another good point. If you are a collector and you are looking to get things for cheap, you're looking to be like a budget collector, make some bids on eBay. You never know who is not kind of tracking something. I think this game is relatively popular, and eventually I'd like to get the manual. I think the manual is pretty expensive, but you never know. You could kind of make it big. Silicon Knights, who made this game, I don't think they exist anymore, but definitely a title I recommend picking up. So for this next game, I actually couldn't pick just one. One of my favorite series of all time is the Persona series. and it's one of my favorite RPGs. Super excited for Persona 6 and Persona 4 Revival. My hope is, before we even talk about the game, I have some qualms with the Persona series and the Pokemon series for that matter. I think a lot of Persona fans and Pokemon fans are middle-aged people. I myself, mid-30s, I love me a Persona game. I don't want to play a dating sim with a bunch of teenagers. I hope the next Persona game is like you're an adult. Like, can we just have an adult game? Or, that sounded weird. That's not what I meant. But can we have a game where you play as an adult? Same in Pokemon. I don't want to play as a kid. Like, I get it. I totally get why you are creating these games and marketing them to kids. But I just want to play these games as an adult with companions that are actually adults. So just a side note for the Persona team if you're watching. But the very first Persona game I ever played was on a modded PSP Go that one of my buddies had modded for me. And I didn't even know what Persona was at this time. But he had put Persona 3 Portable on it, and I was kind of thumbing through. I have a bunch of modded consoles, and sometimes I'll go through them and I'll play games for like 5-10 minutes, but for whatever reason I was just so enthralled with Persona. And when I say whatever reason, it's because it is a masterpiece of a game. It's very kind of simplistic in nature, you know, by day kind of like a dating social sim, and by night you are kind of wandering through this ongoing dungeon, and it's just a lot of fun. And I think like Persona 3 Portable in particular, I did go back and play Persona 3 FES, Foreign Exchange Student. And I think just how they kind of had the systems kind of set out, like the map wasn't like Persona 4, Persona 3 FES, where you're kind of walking through it. It's more like kind of a point and click. Was really accessible for the time. Obviously, I don't own the original version. I was very happy to get this limited run copy. Shout out Limited Run. Not that they gave this to me for free, but if you are really passionate about physical gaming, make sure you go to Limited Run. Make sure you go to Fangamer. Make sure you go to I Am 8-Bit and support them if you can. To keep physical alive, but very happy to own this copy. The reason I was kind of torn was this copy of Persona 4 I bought brand new on Amazon back in the day, sealed, and I love these old copies of Persona. Persona 3 FES has the same thing, but if you could see there on the case, it includes a bonus disc. So both those versions of the game have the soundtrack included, and if you've ever played a Persona game or any kind of what's his name, Shoji Meguro, is that his name? The composer of Persona and Metaphor ReFantazio and a lot of the SMT games is just incredible at making these kind of very unique soundtracks. Persona 4 is my favorite Persona game. I never played Golden. Oh no, that's not true. I own Golden on Steam. I've never beaten it, but I've put quite a few hours into Persona 4 on the PS2, especially because I was playing without a guide and I didn't know there was a secret ending. I got the bad ending. I was like, what the heck? This story is so good. Why would you do this to me? But I love these old PS2 games. I love when anything kind of includes a little bit of a bonus. You don't really get that a lot these days. But back in like the PS2, PS1 eras, you would get like soundtracks, you would get like collectible cards and things like that. So I thought that was really cool. One of my biggest obsessions, I don't know if it's my favorite console, but something I probably played the most of as a little kid or watched my older brother play was the original PlayStation, the PlayStation 1 as it's known now. Back then, for you kids, just so you know, it wasn't called the PlayStation 1. You didn't even know. It's kind of like the World War I. There was no World War I. There was the Great War. But eventually, when World War II came around, one of my favorite games on the PlayStation, which I knew I had to own, and I think this is actually one of the exceptions I made on purchasing a game that was a little bit more expensive, but is Digimon World, the very first game. If you've ever played this game, you know that it is super kind of vague and confusing, but I've kind of ran through it so many times that I've just kind of come to know the routes and stuff like that, and I'm absolutely obsessed with this gem of a game. It is rated teen for comic mischief, unfortunately, so if you are not a teen, you cannot play this because of comic mischief. But it really kind of a simple formula. It's basically they took like Tomodachi Is it Tomodachi or is that the Switch game? Tamagotchi? Anyways, they took that premise, so the original premise of Digimon wasn't a show or an anime or a card game, it was like the Tamagotchis. And they just made it a game, and basically it's an RPG where you raise your Digimon. Digimon evolutions are very different than Pokemon evolutions. They don't really have kind of a singular evolution pattern. It's very much based on like the stats and how well you care about the Digimon. And I just like have such vivid memories of playing it as a kid. I think we ended up selling it when we were kids, and it is quite expensive now. But if you ever get an opportunity to play it, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a Digimon fan, because it is a lot of fun. The graphics aren't the greatest. You can like upscale them, especially if you're playing on like RetroArch. You can upscale it and download shaders and stuff like that. So if you're worried about the graphics, but the game actually holds up quite well, and the sound design and the music is definitely one of my favorite things about this game. Highly recommend it. I wanted to talk about the actual rarest thing in my collection. I was thinking about holding off on this and making a video about the rarest items in my collection. But I love this so much. It's kind of like my pride and joy in my gaming collection. And that's my new Nintendo 2DS XL, The Legend of Zelda, the Hylian Shield edition. This thing is beautiful. And funny story, kind of like the obscure thing where I picked something up cheap. I got a promotion at my job, and basically what happens when you get the kind of promotion that I got, sorry, my nose is really itchy, oh my god, is that you have to travel to have training for 2 months. And at the time, I think I had sold my original 3DS, but me and my buddy were planning on picking up Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun and playing Pokemon again. So while I was up there, that was the plan. I was gonna stay in my hotel room and play Ultra Moon. Unfortunately, I had sold my 3DS, and I was kind of looking at getting an XL and getting a 2DS as well, because the 3D and the 3DS was kind of like gimmicky. I never really used it. I found that it hurt my eyes quite a bit. So I decided that I wanted to pick up the 2DS. So I actually picked this up. It was on sale, and it was like $200. It was that or like the Pikachu one, and I grabbed this one particularly because I love Zelda. I love Pokemon too, don't get me wrong, but Pikachu is far from my favorite Pokemon. Pikachu, if you're watching this, there's no shade to you. You're the mascot for a reason. But I love the design, and I love the XL as well. Like, I think the screen size is perfect. The secondary stick is kind of a nice feature. This came included with A Link Between Worlds, which is one of the best Zelda games in my opinion. And yeah, I got it for super cheap. It was $200. Now it's upwards of $1,000 if you have it complete. Humble brag. But yeah, I'm super happy to have this. If you want, I can talk about my video game collection a lot more. I quite enjoy making these kind of videos, even though this is the first kind of official one. I've made some more short form content when it comes to my game collection, but really looking to make some longer videos and chat about it. The most awkward thing, though, is I don't know how to end my videos, so bye, I guess. See you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want. You don't have to. You have to, please. 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 They took my child.